Hello, welcome to episode 15, 16. It's starting to blur. So, this is echoing. But, I don't know what the topic of this episode or this week will be. It's more like kind of routine, kind of things are like losing their luster. I don't want to say losing their luster, but necessarily, but it's kind of just like more of the same. You're starting to recognize loops and habits, behaviors. I want to say that like personally, but market wise or activity wise, news wise, and so on. Like, I just resubscribed to Wall Street Journal, and again, everything is international, and the whole kind of problem I had with them was that it didn't really focus, and that kind of annoyed me, especially with like, I think at the time it was just like this aversion to hearing about Ukraine and the Russia conflict, like every week, and then the Israeli thing happened, and just seeing all this negative press kind of got to the point of, I don't know, aversion, kind of frustration. I was like, I'm not nowhere anywhere near this region. I'm not interested. Thank you. And like, you your money's being wasted. But I didn't explain or like, go through like the whole, I got the Amex Platinum thing. I mentioned it, never went through it, right? So I got the Amex Platinum. I haven't really used it. I got it specifically for this trip I'm going on. I'll be on a hiatus, but I'll try to pre-program stuff and have it where I'll have episodes coming out, or founder log still coming out. There'll be more targeted. I have a few ideas that I'll go through, like business plan stuff, or I don't want to say forecasting, but I could go through a prior project I was on. What else? Go through a couple of like papers that I wrote in college. I feel like the things that I have thought out are somewhat relevant to like at least the brand I'm kind of going for, the tech and finance and whatever viewpoint. More like a PI. Dream job was to be a PI, like financial PI kind of investor, whatever. That's kind of degraded where I'm a trader now, where it's like, okay, piece of information, how do I make it work? Or what's my book? How do I make it work? And rotating back to like the whole loop thing. My sleep schedule shot. I was up till like 6 a.m. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, whatever. And it's like 3 a.m. You see way down at the bottom. And I'm like, okay, freshman year of college, I was in accounting, studying accounting, whatever. I wanted to be an accountant. COVID happened. Not quite as interested, and it's funny how this looped around where now I'm up late just like I was doing my accounting homework freshman year. But it's for my business, for my company, whatever. And, here's like the monthly breakdown. I'm just kind of like running through now. Now I'm substantially better at bookkeeping than I was last year with Paradolia, where I was just like, oh my gosh, lost track of it per se, right? When you do like 500 trades in the span of a few months, in the forecast contract stuff, and I was like keeping track of like individual trades. Now it's like, no way, just give me the net numbers, interactive, and I'll go figure out my math, right? So like in the case of like revenues, it's kind of okay. Here's the breakdown. Here's the split. I'm conflicted on breaking it down percentage wise, but I think I'll do that for the annual coming in once that's over in January. But other than that, like most of this I got covered to my understanding. I'm not too certain with Nav. I think that's just a niche or a gimmick of my business where if you're putting money in and certain cash flows are happening, income per se, that's going directly back into the machine to buy more assets, more stock, more options, more whatever. Or like in this case, right, whatever revenues or income is seen is immediately essentially reinvested, or, you know, thrown directly at like the forecast event stuff. But that seems to be a loss leader. I'll show you here, right? And I don't know if it just needs more time with it or what, but at least for now, just think of it like a secondary spigot to, you know, the main wheel per se. And the main wheel, let's say, is buying a certain equity and selling covered calls against it out of the money. I don't know what works. At least for me, seems to be covered calls at whatever percentage above, you know, percentage out of the market. At least with in the regard of pareidolia. Personal stuff, I don't know. I'll keep that in mind, but, you know, for founder logs, I'm gonna try to keep it more concentrated on pareidolia stuff, but on the weeks that there's not as much like activity, financially speaking, or accounting wise, bookkeeping, whatever, then I'll just go through and, you know, talk about my own book and stuff. So that's kind of it, at least with this for now. I'm not quite certain here. I'll throw this into Claude tomorrow when I'm working on this, and then the other project, PowerPoint, whatever. But, you know, it's really like, oh man, I don't know, just like a certain activity. Like there's a lot going on in the world, but then, you know, your own business, line of business, whatever, there's not much going on, or you're like capturing everything. And maybe it's tax season, maybe it's that. I'm not certain. But I was playing around with my numbers, and then I was like, well, let me double check with like ChatGPT, just to throw it in. Like here's a handful of numbers. I just want a range. I already knew my range. I already did all my calculations. I was spending a whole fucking day, morning, to capture like my total income or gross last year, to just kind of know what it is, and then it took me like a week to grab all my data and then send that off to my accountant and so on. So maybe it's that, maybe it's just that, and you know, the expectation of having this largest number you've ever paid in taxes, and I'm putting that on my credit card, so that'll be very interesting as well. But like aside from that, I don't know. There's not much. Like I feel like there's more to discuss or talk about in the regard of the PowerPoint I'll have, but I want that to be a separate thing. So obviously, when you're crunching your numbers, you do all your numbers, then you make a PowerPoint and make it pretty. And at least with the thing, like I got my notes for that thing, right? So the pitch deck, I forget what the hell I wrote, but pitch deck, you know, try to capture the creative personality or identity, like capture something between like a vision board, a pitch deck, and a financial statement, like quarterly financial statements, and kind of go through like what, you know, the who and like what is pareidolia is kind of the goal, and obviously that's very esoteric to try to encapsulate or capture. So I hope you enjoy that. That'll be it is fun to play with, but it's kind of tricky when you're like, how the hell do I capture the identity of the company that, you know, I founded? It's challenging, I will say that, right? But, you know, obviously you don't want something that's too blasé, but you don't want something that's too, I don't know, too formulaic or systematized in this way that, you know, kills creativity or identity culture, where it's too sanitized. And trying to capture that with like movie clips, advertisements, and so on, in order to kind of capture, you know, trader identity and the company identity and the culture that I try to encapsulate and whatever. Tricky, very tricky, especially when you want something less than 10 slides, whatever, right? And I don't know. It'll be fun. So anyway, enough ramble. Thanks for watching, listening, subscribing, whatever. You know the drill. Oh, this needs to be centered. And that's all. Thanks for listening. Bye.